Hi, I'm here today to talk to you about good mental health. More and more people are talking about mental health, and I think that's a great thing. But often, when we're talking about mental health, we're often talking about anxiety and depression and other disorders of the brain and the psyche. But today, I want to talk to you about what good mental health looks like. So, hi, I'm Mary-Leigh. I'm a clinical nutritionist, and like I said, today I'm here to talk to you about good mental health. So, what is mental health? It's about our emotional, social, and psychological well-being. We know that we need to fuel our bodies and look after ourselves and maintain our physical health. And as I said before, more people are talking about our ability to maintain and achieve good mental health. So for me, good mental health is about your ability to enjoy life. It's about having vitality. It's about having the energy that you need to achieve your day's goals. It's about being able to bounce back from adversity. It's about being able to balance life's requirements in terms of family and work and finances and community. And it's also about feeling safe and secure. So there are some ingredients for good mental health. Things like getting adequate sleep and really good quality sleep, making sure that you're moving your body and getting exercise, having social connection, so important for mental health, but also food that fuels our body and our mind. We need to eat nutritious food so that our bodies can grow and repair and function well. And our brain needs lots of food too. In fact, our brain's a really hungry organ, and it accounts for around 20% of our total daily energy requirements. So when we eat nutritious foods, we're providing our body with the building blocks that we need to be our best. We need vitamins, minerals, healthy fats, fibre, and all of these things play a role in brain health and function. Like I said before, eating well and it gives you the ability to have more energy. It actually helps you to sleep better. It improves your concentration and it helps you to be more resilient. So we know that food influences our behaviour. Just think about kids on red cordial, or maybe adults on a little bit too much alcohol. And as we know, in a lot of workplaces, we can't start our day until we've had our morning coffee. And so that zap or that energy feel that you get from your coffee helps change your mood and your energy levels. So it goes without saying, and it's not a stretch for people to understand, that good nutrition helps us to be happy, healthy, and more productive. So here's the thing. Did you know that we've got two brains? Our gut is often referred to as our second brain. It's got this complex functional neural network that includes neurons and ganglia and astrocytes and all of the other functions and things that we actually see within our brain. Our brains rely on our gut to produce and house really important neurotransmitters like serotonin, dopamine, and GABA. And those neurotransmitters are very, very important for our mental health, and I'll tell you a bit about those in a second. Imbalances in our microbiome or any type of disease that affects the gut, can end up with us having a suboptimal level of these really vital chemicals. So our gut is not only the engine room of good brain health, but it's also the engine room for our immune system. And so what we need to do is make sure that if we have any gut issues, that we actually get those addressed, because they will affect our immunity and they absolutely affect our mental health and our ability to function cognitively and productively. So let's talk about those neurotransmitters. First one we're going to talk about is dopamine. Dopamine is our motivational reward system neurotransmitter. It drives us. It's the thing that actually makes us go out and achieve. And if you've ever lost your mojo, then chances are your dopamine levels were probably a little bit low. Dopamine, when it's at really high levels, can actually help with deep thinking and memory. So it's a really important neurotransmitter for us to actually live a really happy and healthy, balanced life. So dopamine can be affected not only by good foods, but by obviously foods that are not ideal. So highly processed foods, foods that are high in bad fats or in sugar, and additives and preservatives can be very inflammatory, not only to our brain, but to our entire bodies. But when that inflammation actually builds up, it can affect the way that we think and we function. So it's really important that we're putting the right type of nutrients into our body. And so the nutrients that we're looking at are foods that are really high in an amino acid or a type of protein called tryptophan. And we find tryptophan in a lot of animal-based products, so good quality protein, so lean protein, particularly high in turkey and chicken, but also in beef. For those people who don't eat meat, you can also get tryptophan in sorry, not tryptophan, tyrosine in dairy and eggs, also in legumes. So legumes and whole grains that when had together can ensure that you actually are getting the nutrients and the amino acid or protein profiles that you need. So eating things like lentils and chickpeas, edamame and soy, and that's not processed soy, that's as close to unprocessed as you can get, along with things like brown rice, rolled oats or whole oats and whole wheat, barley, those types of things are really going to help make sure that you get the right amino acids to help build not only dopamine but also serotonin. So let's talk about serotonin. Serotonin is our happiness hormone. It helps to regulate anxiety and depression. It is really interesting because it converts into melatonin at night. So in the morning, serotonin is what gets us up and gets us moving and out of bed. And one of the best ways that you can actually start to trigger the serotonin rise in your body is to get some morning sunlight. And as you can see, the sunlight is coming here on me. So getting that morning sunlight, that bright light, actually helps to boost your serotonin levels. But it needs to have the right ingredients. And so we'll talk about the foods that you can get the right ingredients for in a moment. And then it converts to something called melatonin in the evening. So in the morning when we get sunshine, our serotonin goes up. Over the day, as the sun starts to wane and we get more orangey hues, we tend to have our melatonin rise and our serotonin goes down. Now melatonin's great because it's the thing that helps us to sleep. It puts us to sleep, it keeps us to sleep. But while we are asleep, it acts as an antioxidant. So it's also doing a great job of repairing our body while we're asleep. So it's really important that we're making sure we have enough serotonin in our diet, or serotonin neurotransmitters being made, so that we can actually get the right amount of sleep and good quality sleep as well. So 75 to 95% of serotonin is made and housed within the gut. So it's really important, again, that I reiterate the importance of your gut health. So what do we need to eat to boost our serotonin levels? So again, chicken, eggs, cheese, salmon, spinach, nuts and seeds, and bananas. So what we're actually looking for is foods that are really high in tryptophan. Now, dopamine relies on a amino acid called tyrosine. Serotonin is all about the tryptophan. Tryptophan turns into serotonin, and then, like I said, that turns into melatonin. Okay, so that's serotonin. Let's move on to the third neurotransmitter that I want to tell you about. And I've got to tell you that this is kind of my favorite, because GABA, that's G-A-B-A, GABA, is a calming neurotransmitter. It helps to modulate stress. It helps to reduce anxiety. It's our neurotransmitter that gives us the ability to relax. And interestingly enough, when our GABA levels are adequate, it actually helps to reduce pain. So how do we improve our GABA levels? Well, I'm going to talk to you about food in a second, but one of the great ways that you can actually increase GABA is by deep meditative breathing. So breathing into the gut and taking long, slow breaths, kind of like you do in yoga. So if you're not into doing yoga, then taking long, deep, relaxing breaths is often very, very good to help increase your GABA. in your system. And what I recommend for my clients is that they may take 4 or 5 gentle, you take a breath in for 4 or 5 seconds and then gently release it out for longer than they took to actually to take the breath in. So you breathe in for 4 seconds or 5 seconds and take 5 to 6 to slowly release that. And what that does is it actually sends a really calming story to our nervous system, and that helps to boost our GABA. So let's talk about the foods. So flavonoid foods. So flavonoids are plant chemicals that are found in fruits and vegetables, particularly in fruits and vegetables that are really bright and pigmented color. So think reds, orange, blues, purples, greens. Never forget your greens. They're so important. So eating lots of fruit and vegetables is going to be a great way to help boost your GABA. The other things that are really good for helping with GABA production is tea. So green tea, black tea, and oolong tea have all been shown to actually help our levels of GABA. And part of the reason is because of a chemical that's in there called theanine. And L-theanine is also, like GABA, it has a really calming effect on the body. So having a couple of cups of green tea a day is going to do great things to actually help you to feel calm and to be able to, have some time to think and process. So other foods that will help your GABA include nuts, seeds, berries, and again, the great old legumes. So lentils, chickpeas, fava beans, all of those wonderful things. So what are some other brain food? Well, we can't have a conversation about good mental health without talking about omega-3. So omega-3s are essential fatty acids, and when we say essential fatty acids, it means that we have to consume them. Our body can't make them themselves. That's why we need to actually eat the nutrients. So you can become deficient in all of these things if you're not actually putting the right fuel into your body. So the types of things or the types of food that you want to be consuming to increase your omega-3 is oily fish. So think tuna, mackerel, halibut, sardines, salmon, but also oysters and cod, another really good forms. Now, if you can't bring yourself to eat fish and you're just not a fishy person, that's okay. There are things like flax seeds, or often called linseeds, and linseed oil or flaxseed oil or flax meal. They're fabulous. And to be honest, as a functional food, flax seeds has to be one of my favorites, especially for managing and balancing hormones. But that's another talk. The other way that you can help to get your omegas is by eating walnuts, or most nuts and seeds, but walnuts are really high in omega-3. Chia seeds, hemp seeds, and of course there's always the option to take a omega-3 supplement. Okay. The other thing that we touched on at the beginning is the importance of gut health. And so if you don't have a healthy gut, then your body is going to really struggle, A, to absorb any nutrients that you're consuming, but B, to actually convert those nutrients into the amino acids and the hormones and the neurotransmitters that your body needs in order to be able to create all of these wonderful chemicals in our body that keeps us healthy, both mentally and physically. So, what do we need for gut-loving foods? Fiber. We do not eat enough fiber in our diets. Our Western-style diet is actually quite devoid of really good quality fibers. Those highly processed white breads and baked items and all of the things that you find in the middle aisles of the supermarket are pretty devoid of fiber. You're really wanting to be eating lots of whole grains and lots of vegetables and lots of fruit. And, you may have heard when you were a kid where your mum said, make sure you eat the outside of the apple. Don't peel your apple because you need the roughage. And it was really interesting. I had a conversation with somebody recently who didn't realise that fibre, in fact, was the roughage their mum had been talking about when they were younger. But there are a couple of other things that we want to be making sure, and they come from fibre, but I'm going to break them down a little bit more. One's prebiotics and the other is probiotics. So prebiotics are foods that feed the gut bugs or the microbiome. And we are actually mostly microbiome. There is actually more bugs in our gut than there is cells that we have in our body. So it's really important that we feed these guys and make sure that they get the fuel that they need to help us with our immune health and to help us with our mental health. So prebiotic foods include things like leek, asparagus, onions, garlic, fennel, beetroot, the good old legumes. God, I'm a fan of a good, bean salad for improving your gut health. But then there's also things called probiotics. Now you will have heard about probiotics. You hear people talking on advertisements all the time about getting your probiotics. But you don't need to take a supplement, although in some cases we do actually prescribe certain probiotics to help with certain conditions. But you can get a good variety of probiotics just by eating the right types of foods. And those foods are fermented foods. So think about things like yogurt and sauerkraut, kombucha, kefir, pickles, old-fashioned pickles, and miso. So anything that's fermented is actually really good. So sourdough can be really good as a probiotic food for our better gut health. Okay, so that's a lot of information to take in. I'm going to leave you with 5 top tips, which is really just the summary of what we've talked about. It's really important for good mental health that we need to eat good quality animal protein or plant protein. We need to make sure that we're eating unprocessed foods that aren't high in additives and preservatives and haven't had all the nutrients stripped out of them. Even when they strip the nutrients out of them and then they add them back in and say it's got added this and wonderful that, it's never going to be as good as if you're actually taking all of the nutrients out of a whole piece of fruit or vegetables. Increase your omega-3s in your diet. If there's one thing that I see in my clinic on a regular basis, it's that people are deficient and showing signs of deficiency in omega-3 essential fatty acids. So make sure that you're actually getting more of those in. And if there's one thing that you're going to do for your health, for your mental health, then that would be the thing that I would start with. The other thing that I would put right up there in terms of being really high around things that we do for our mental health is make sure that you're actually getting plenty of fiber in your diet and make sure that your gut is actually in really good condition. And of course, the last tip is really around reducing those foods that are not going to be serving you. So foods that are food and beverages that are stimulants. So think our coffees and our alcohols. Those things don't necessarily help our mental health. Even if we think that they're helping us on the short term, on the long term, they are actually causing us more issues than they are actually giving us benefits. So look for food that's not high in sugar, it's not loaded or laden with inflammatory fats, and that it doesn't have huge amounts of additives and preservatives. Right, so that's my little rant about good mental health and eating for good mental health. I hope that this video finds you in good mental health and that with these tips and these concepts that you can actually start to introduce things to help to maintain or to improve your mental health. Thanks for watching.